IronTrap Garage, and in this episode we're going to show you how to finish doing the repair of the bracing in the A-pillar of the Sweetheart Roadster. So Andrew here is a 14-year-old young guy that's been helping me out with doing some work in the shop on projects, and he's getting the basics. He's ready to start, actually making some pieces. So he's going to help me out with this today. And we're going to show you how to make these box sections. So let me get in a little closer, and I'll go show you guys exactly what we're working with, and then we'll go over to the vise and the brake and make up some more pieces.
Okay, so in here you can see what we're going to be working on repairing. This section is actually, it starts out as a little, it reduces in size here, but it's basically just a piece of box. That's a square box section that fits inside of the actual door jamb, and then the little foot here that's all rotted away is formed in there. This was probably all pressed originally, so I don't have a way to make that out of one shot. So I'm going to show you guys how to make it out of two pieces here, but this is what we're starting with, so we're going to take a pattern off of that.
So this piece, like the last one, has a bunch of bends in it, so we marked our lines on both sides. And we're going to be bending this, basically most of the sections are 90, but there is one section that's about 45. But because we are making a box section here, and this is just a simple break, we're going to have to do a little trick at the end to do the last bend so it fits in. But he's got the first one bent, and he's done one of these already, so he's turned into a pro. That second one's about a 90 as well. That's pretty good. And this is 18 gauge steel we're using for this this section. Since we're making a box, we can make it out of 18 gauge. It's still going to have a ton of strength when it's actually bent up. So this last one here is actually a 45. Because it kind of comes, it's not exactly a fully square piece, and then it has like a pinch weld effect on the inside. So he's using the one side of the brake just so he can get that 45 bent without the bracing here and it getting in the way. Pretty good. So now for this last part here, when we once he loosens that up, we'll show this. So for the last section here, we have a last bend that needs to be made here. This actually needs to come back onto itself, and it's going to spot weld onto this back section to make it into a box. So let's go over to the bench. I'll show you a little tool that I made. And Andrew will bend this up, and then we'll get it all put together and spot welded. So let's go over to the other bench. Okay, so this is the tool that I made here. It's just a breaking the edge tool. What I did is I made a bunch of different cuts in this that are different lengths that I commonly use to bend metal, and one real long one that gives me kind of adjustability. So what we'll do is we can actually put this on the metal here, and I have a 3/4 section here, which is about what we need here. So you do little bends with it, and it basically bottoms out as we're bending it, like this. And as we work it slowly back and forth, it will bend and make this bend in it. And this is in an area where we couldn't get the brake originally, so now we can actually get that in there, make the bend, and when I get it to about 90 degrees, now I can take a hammer and dolly here. I'll open this up a little bit. I'll open this up, and we can hammer on this to flatten the bend out. So after it's flattened out there, we made our 90-degree bend. Now we can bend this section together here, and we're ready to spot weld everything. So I'm going to let Andrew drill the holes here, and he's going to do some spot welding. Okay, so now that we got the box section made, we're going to try and replicate this foot section, which will we will then spot weld to the to the box section. So I got a piece of 16 gauge here that I'm going to bend and form, and we just rough cut it, and I'm going to put just a rough mark about where I want the bend to be here and there. And then we know that, and I'm going to double check it on our other piece, but about right in there we want it to bend around. So this has got multiple bends going on, so we're going to show you how we do that to get the shape in so it looks similar to this. But this is, I'm just eyeballing it and giving me a rough idea of the lines that I need to bend on for this. So let's go and we'll make this first bend, and then we'll show you the other one. So we'll move over to the stump for that. So now that we have this piece kind of roughly drawn out, I'm going to first put the little roll in it that's here. Instead of just making a bend in the brake, it's just a sharp 90, it kind of flows a little bit. So I'm going to just kind of hit it on the stump here, because it's a good surface. It's not metal on metal, so it's not going to actually, when I hit on it, it's not going to stretch the metal out real bad or deform it, like if I was hammering on an anvil or on a thick piece of metal. So I'm just going to hammer on it in my area where I was marked. And I can kind of check it. And this isn't our final forming of it, so I'm just roughing it in. But it's got a little nice bend. It's got a nice radius to it instead of being in the brake where it gets a hard bend on it. So just by hitting it there on the stump, we formed it around there, and we can work on bending these sides now that they need to form over. So I'm going to take this over to the vise and I'll show you guys how I do that. Alright, so like I said, I had the bend in here. Now I'm going to put this in the vise and actually use the rounded kind of area that has a softer edge on it. And I'm going to bend this because it actually needs to come around to go around our box tubing. So I'm going to put it in here and just do it the old school way with it. So put it in there like that. Put this in here like this, the other way. Get it to roll, and now we have it starting to curve that way. It took a little bit of my bend out there, but I can put some of that back in just here with the vise. Some hand manipulation, we can do that. A little more. We're getting a foot that's starting to come in. And then what I want, if you want to make this even a little more like the original and fill it in over here, we'll take it over to the stump again, and I'm going to fill it in a little bit with the blocking hammer just to raise out this area to give it more of that same look. So we'll go over there and I'll show you that, and then we'll test fit it on the piece that we made and see how everything fits together. Okay, so the back side of this, because of the way that I bent it, there's a little area here where it's a little abrupt. Again, if I want to fill this in a little bit to make it a little more round and less, make it flow and look more like an original, we can take this on the stump here and just find a good spot that fits and tap on the area that's kind of flat. Now I'm actually hitting it harder now, so I'm stretching the metal out in that area. Now this area is starting to become more rounded there as I hit on it, and it kind of flows together a little more. Now I'll go down the center a little bit just to give it more of a rounded look like the original. Again, it takes away a little of our bend there, but we can bend that a little more here. And now we got our foot made. So let's take it over to our original there, and we'll show you how it fits up on the car, on the rotted one, and we can cut everything away and put it together and start making a solid foot for it. Alright, so now we're back over at the cow, and we got the little box section that Andrew made, and it came out pretty darn nice. And then we got the foot section that I just made out of thicker material. So you can see here, the foot fits in pretty good and pretty much matches the original. I got a little extra material around the actual base of the foot, but I know that I can sand that down once we get a little closer. So what that's going to do is this box section is going to sit in there like that. This is going to sit over like this and have the foot fit in, and I can actually spot weld this to this piece, and then we have one section that's strong and is pretty close to the original. So we're going to cut this mess out now that we got this piece made here. I'm pretty confident it's what it needs to be. We're going to cut just below the screws here on the door jamb on the A-pillar, and we're going to clean that all up, and then we can weld this piece in first, and then we can weld that intermediate section that we made last time in, and we should have something going where we can soon start fitting this to the subrest. So let's get this cut apart, and we'll show you guys where we're at. Alright guys, so the other day Andrew and I were working on making a bunch of these parts, the puzzle pieces to get the A-pillar built back up for the Roadster. Since then to today, I welded the foot up for this, so I welded the piece together to make this a one-piece inner box section that's going to fit in here and go on our intermediate section that we already built in the other episode. I also, in the meantime, I made up an outer skin that's for the A-pillar and the door jamb. So once we have this piece welded in, we're going to lay the skin over top of it, weld that in, and then we'll kind of hammer and form everything together and get it all welded up so that it's strong again and it's one piece. So I'm going to fit this all up, and then we're going to start welding it together and show you the process. Alright, so it was a little difficult getting all these pieces welded in, but we got it. A little bit of what I was fighting is when you're working with metal that's 70, 80 years old, you do have some spots where even though we cleaned it pretty good, stuff starts to pop out, and I had to work around that. But got it in, got it welded. It's pretty nice. It's very solid. Pretty much looks like an original in there. And I left a little bit extra material here at the bottom, just so when we actually start test fitting it with the sub rails, I have a little extra material that I can bend a flange or I can trim off and make it fit really nice. So that's why we got a little bit hanging here. But otherwise, this side's done, and it's solid again. And we can move on to the other side over here, replicate the same thing, and then we can start test fitting this and get the sub rails all together, which I'm really excited about. So that's it for this episode. Thanks guys for watching and checking out all the technical stuff that we're doing here. Make sure you like, share, comment, and just let me know if you guys like what we're doing. So IronTrap Garage, make sure you follow us. Thanks guys, I'll catch you later.